Welcome to Flames Unfiltered, hosted by Burud, Kyle Lewis, talking Flames hockey every single week. Kyle, good afternoon.
Yeah, this is weird. I had to black out my office because it's actually light outside. Usually it's super late.
It's rare for us. It is rare for us to be doing this in the afternoon.
Now,
but we're doing.
Yeah, and before we get into anything, I want to point something out that's really kind of funny to me. So it's May 1st that we're recording. So I flipped over my Flames calendar to May. And you'll never guess who the Flames player is for the month of May, 2025.
Huberto. Wrong?
Kevin Rooney.
Uh-oh. Is that like a farewell?
Kevin Rooney made it onto... I don't know, but Kevin Rooney made it onto an NHL calendar. Good for that guy.
Yeah. You're such a Rooney fan. I'm shocked that you did not notice that sooner.
Oh, hey, listen, I want to like him. I really do.
I do too. You know, and honestly, he was far from the biggest problem this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just think it's a really obscure thing to have him on a Flames calendar, so I just want to point that out. So anyway, happy May, everybody.
Yeah, it does. It's crazy that it's already May. It's hard to believe, Kyle. Like, I'm watching the playoffs now, and it's hard to believe that the season's over for the Flames. Like, it's been 10 days now since the last game, and it's been a little bit of an adjustment this year. I don't know why.
Well, because we were so close. It also feels like a lot more than 10 days for me, anyway.
It does. I believe it's 10 days, 10 or 11.
Yeah, it's weird. And now we've got some. We could have more after we record this. We've already got some eliminations. The Lightning are gone. The Canadiens are gone. The Devils are gone. That's all in the East.
Should we talk Stanley Cup playoffs before we talk Flames?
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's lots going on, so let's dive into that. Sure.
Let's talk about the three series that are done out east, and that's Tampa is done. Florida knocked them out last night, and I'm gonna be honest with you, did not watch a ton of this series. It was decent when I did watch it, but it was you know how every playoffs, the first rounds, there's series that you become invested in, and there's series that you don't. This just kind of falls into my not invested in series.
It probably would have been dead last for me had it not been, for the fact that the Panthers have some former Flames had won the Cup last year. But I didn't pay a lot of attention. I was surprised. I had Tampa kind of as a pick to take out Florida just because, they had, that the Stanley Cup hangover. And Tampa's a deep, experienced team who's been there before kind of thing. And I mean, Tampa's undergone a lot of changes too, but I at the very least, I thought the series was going to go longer. I expected 6 or 7 games, and I was dead wrong on this one.
I did too. I think I can't remember my predictions even. How bad is that? I think I had Florida winning in 6, but I did. I thought I'd go 6. And you know what? Vasilevsky just wasn't to his normal standards, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, like, he just wasn't as sharp as he usually is, and that's not probably the reason they lost the series, but had a couple tough outings, and
he didn't steal the series, right? And that's Vasilevsky of a few years ago. There was a good chance that he would have done that, but I thought the series was likely going to be 7, but the Panthers move on. So, and it's interesting to me that all the Eastern, or I should say most of the Eastern semi or quarters have been determined, and it could be another one tonight, but. I didn't watch a lot of this one either, to the Lightning Panthers, but I enjoyed what little I watched. I just don't have enough invested in either team to, really pay a lot of attention to it.
Now, a series that I hardly can comment on because I watched literally under 5 minutes because I don't really care at all in the series. Carolina, New Jersey. Does anybody care about this series? Like, do you know one hockey fan that's like, can't wait to get home tonight to watch a Carolina game? I'm not. I don't know. I pick Carolina.
I don't know if that's a geography thing.
No, I don't think it's a geography thing either. To me, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm so old fashioned, Kyle, but like since the Burud Devil days, I always think that New Jersey is just boring as hell to watch. That's 20 some, that's 30 some years ago. I still feel the same way. Does anybody get excited to watch the Devils?
I don't
I
think
don't.
so.
I
I
don't.
would have been more inclined if Jack Hughes had been able to play, but
Yeah.
um,
It's
and
just
I
I
do,
don't know.
yeah, I do think that he could have made a big enough difference in that series that it could have gone the distance as well. But um, Jersey had a lot of injury problems. Markstrom was not great, and Carolina's a deep team, so I kind of expected that series was going to be relatively quick.
Let's pull this one back to Calgary a little bit. Markstrom leaves last year in a trade, just in the offseason, and I thought Markstrom was decent when he was in Calgary, but it seemed like later on in his career in Calgary, he seemed like he was angry. And I feel like I still see an angry Jacob Markstrom in New Jersey. And like when they lost out in that game, like he looked like he was going to chop someone's head off with his stick, and the net took the brunt of it. But like, why all of a sudden are we seeing like an angry Jacob Markstrom? I never saw that in Vancouver, and I never saw it the first year and a half in Calgary.
I have no idea. Maybe
You know,
because he's getting older and his chances are getting more limited. I mean,
probably.
and I don't. I said this before. I don't. His reputation is like an elite goaltender. I never fully understood it because I didn't see, 3 straight seasons of 40 wins or, you know, uh, just all these highlight reel saves. Like he's good. Don't get me wrong. I never really understood why he was so coveted. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure how to answer that, to be honest.
Washington, Montreal. That one's done now too, as Washington wins that one 4-1. I got a question for you. So was it Friday night or Saturday night? They have the fight where Anderson and Wilson end up in the bench throwing blows. They get 2 and 10s and a $5,000 fine. And I'm sitting here thinking they were fighting at the end of the period on the bench and got 2 and 10s. That's it.
Yeah.
Is that not odd? Am I missing something here? That seems.
I don't know if you're missing anything. I mean, it's the same old, and that the officiating and what you might expect is extremely inconsistent. I'm not entirely sure how I would have called that necessarily, so I don't want to be too heavy-handed about it. But it was a suspendable thing in the regular season that was seen as intense and fun in the playoffs because there's a huge double standard and disparity between the two, and that there's no better example of it than that, right?
Oh, so the Tom Wilson hit on Encan Carrier. Did you think it was legal?
I thought it was late.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a Tom Wilson fan, but I actually did not think it was that bad. His shoulders were down. He never left the ice. Like, was it
Yeah,
late?
I didn't.
A second.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
wasn't
if there's
that.
outrage.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, the bigger issue, whether they want to admit it or not, at least from my eyes, is that the Habs just didn't have an answer for that type of play at all.
No, they don't. They don't. But you know what? I think the Habs are probably in their rebuild, well, whatever you want to call it, are probably on track pretty well.
Oh, they're I was hoping they would have got more out of that series. I mean, they're a young, fast, very skilled team, but is obviously a fantastic experience for them. I think Dobish played well, so they've got 2 pretty solid goaltenders in net, and just a lot of things to look forward to. I can't think of any Habs fans who are disappointed with the way their season went. I think they're all pretty happy. I would argue that much like Calgary, they're probably a little bit ahead where people thought they'd be. But it just sucks. I wanted to see more home games in Montreal, like from that crowd, because there's just nothing like it, man. They're so it can be a Saturday afternoon game, which I've attended there, right? And it's just they're always up for hockey. It's good for hockey when Montreal does well, so this is a big step in the right direction for them.
I agree. Toronto, Ottawa, 3-2 tonight's game 6.
Oh man,
I know you're into this series. I know you're into this one.
Yeah, this one's been fun. This one's been really, really, really fun. Now, this could age terribly, if we were to release and the Leafs pull it off in Ottawa. But I love watching Leafs fans sweat because they get so arrogant, so cocky, And for what, I don't know. They haven't won a cup in forever, and they do have a good team. Don't get me wrong, but they are. The Senators are giving them all they can handle and then some right now. And I hope it goes 7 games. I really, really hope it goes 7 games. I would love that.
I am with you completely. In the West,
well, you love Ottawa. You say it all the time.
I Somebody asked me the other day if I would trade the Flames complete roster for the Ottawa Senators complete roster, and I jumped up and down and was like, "Yes, yes, can we do it?" Because I love the direction of Ottawa. I do. I really do.
Yeah,
But
I do too. No, I'm a big
we'll
fan.
see. Out west, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, and 3-2. Can you get any better? Vegas, Minnesota. I've watched quite a bit of this series. It just seems really, really, really back and forth, and it's been fun. It's been physical, but it's been good hockey.
Yeah, I feel that Minnesota was kind of underrated going to that series, and perhaps because they stumbled a bit down the stretch. They didn't look like a particularly strong team, but I mean, they've played very well against Vegas and matched up very well against them. I'm starting to believe that series is going to be seventh in a coin toss, right? What are your feelings on that one so far?
That one's going to be 7, I think. I really do think that one will be 7. Dallas, Colorado. I don't think that one's going to go 7. I think Dallas closes that one out. And I've had a struggle watching this one. Why? These are two good teams, two fun teams to watch. Why am I struggling? I find myself venturing away. And I think a lot of that is because it's been a lot of times in the same nights as the Edmonton, LA. And that to me is just bonkers of a series. Uh, I laugh every time I watch this series because it's been such a roller coaster being a Flames guy. Well, we none of us wanted Edmonton to do well, and the way the series started, I thought, oh, this is great, this is perfect. McDavid looked like he wanted to get on a ship right out of Edmonton, and I'm just like, oh, can we get any better? And then it's been a stumble for LA, and they just keep allowing Edmonton to hang on in games and come back, and it's painful as hell to watch. Painful.
Yep. Yeah, well, there's two things there I guess you touched on. Dallas, Colorado. I also have had a bit of a hard time with that for the same reason you just mentioned, but I don't find it's had the storylines and the intrigue, other than Landeskog coming back is a big story. But I don't find it as compelling of a series for whatever reason. I know both teams are fantastic, and either one who comes out of that is certainly a cup contender. But yeah, it just doesn't really seem to do anything for me. Now, Edmonton, LA, obviously there's some investment there. I've said all along that I thought LA was a deeper team and a better overall team, perhaps. But I got to give credit where it's due, and Moncton native Calvin Pickard has really saved the Oilers in net since taking over. I didn't expect that, honestly. I really, but that's what happens in playoffs, man. You never know who's going to emerge as a potential hero, and Pickard's doing his part. So that's another series that I'm not really sure what to make of at this point, but it's looking good for Edmonton as we record here today.
Winnipeg, they were up 2-0. They lose 2 to St. Louis, and last night Bigger out away to win a big game last night. Scheifele's out. He's out for game 6 too. This has been a fun series to watch, and I feel like a lot of people I know, well, and I live close to Winnipeg, but a lot of people are really cheering and watching for Winnipeg here.
Yeah, and this series has the storylines that I just alluded to. I mean, especially now between the head coaches getting into it over the injury to Scheifele. Man, I've said it a million times. I love the Jets. I love the city of Winnipeg. I think this team is, the window of opportunity is now. I don't know. St. Louis is give them fits, and the big test is going to be that game in St. Louis, obviously, because Hellebuck's been terrible on the road, and he's gotta pull it together, man, or this series is over, especially with Scheifele. The good news for the Jets, obviously, that Gabe Vilardi's back, and that's a huge, huge, huge plus for them. But now they're missing Scheifele. They're already missing Ehlers. Those are 2 top 6 forwards on any team in the NHL, and I don't know. I got a bad feeling about that one, if I'm being honest with you and with myself.
I know it is scary. I hope they can battle through it in game 6 and maybe get Scheifele back in game 7, but we'll see. Felt a little bit more comfortable with Hellebuck in game 5. I feel bad for him, and I guess his statistics lead the criticism after after game 3 and 4, but
yeah,
I don't know that. I mean, he is a top end goalie in this league, and I can't see that this is going to be a problem that continues in the playoffs. I guess maybe I'm wrong, but I sure hope not.
Yeah, same here, and I think this is the series that's going to define it, because I mean he had a really rough outing against Colorado in the playoffs last year, and even if things go poorly for them around two, if they get that far, just being able to squeeze out this series, missing, two top six forwards like they are, would go a long ways towards cementing Hellebuck as something more than just a regular season performer, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's talk Flames. It's been, what did we say, a little over 10 days now since we accepted the fact that we are not into the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, hang on. We haven't accepted the fact. We're just stuck with the reality.
We are stuck with it, yes. Good point. We have no choice but to live with it. So it's given us time to take a step back. I don't want to say calm down because there's really I wasn't all that fired up last episode. You were a little more than me. It kind of is what it is, but now I feel like we can talk about the players and their season, and I don't know, kind of put a bow on it, and next episode we'll look forward into what comes. But I want to kind of just roll through some of the players. I don't know if we'll hit on everybody, but we can, I guess, because some of them there's not going to be a whole lot to say. But we'll just you can name a guy, I'll name a guy, and we'll rattle through them and kind of give our synopsis on what we thought of them this season. And I don't know, let's start at the top and a positive, and that's Jonathan Huberdeau. I felt like he was, I don't know what, I guess he's back, right? 28 goals this year versus 12 the year before, 62 points. It's not what we signed up for, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we had, right?
Yeah, if I was going to put a letter grade on him, I'd go B plus A minus area. I think he's very, very good. And at key moments too. I mean, the 62 points is admirable for a lot of, for most players. It's a significant amount of points, but not superstar level. But I feel that he really came up at big moments. So a couple games down the stretch where I felt he really should have stepped up more and didn't. But overall, yeah, he was the comeback story we're waiting 3 years for, right? Or 2 years, I suppose.
Yeah, I think he was not. Hey, let's focus this. He was not the focus of criticism this year, right? And that's a positive.
No, not at all. Far from it, in fact.
Nazem Kadri.
I got a lot of flack not that long ago on X for talking about Kadri and not giving him a perfect grade because he came up, him and Dustin Wolf were the two standouts on the nights they needed to be, right?
Yeah.
But
I'll
at
give
the
you
same, at the same, my only grievance with Kadri was some egregious giveaways and those types of things. Are really bad moments, but overall, I thought his season was fantastic, and he was worth the money we paid him, which I don't think a lot of people necessarily expected that this far into his contract.
35 goals, 67 points. I thought he was great. He had some moments where I was very frustrated with him. I took some heat also on X because I was a proponent of moving him at the deadline because I felt like with him having the season that he was having, that we could get ourselves out but from underneath that aging contract. Because I'm going to make a prediction here that 12 months from now, we're going to be sitting here trying to figure out how to get rid of that contract. And maybe I'll be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But I still think that an opportunity was maybe missed at deadline. Although that if you asked me right now who is the most dynamic player, I would probably say Nazem Kadri, and he had to hit a real good year.
Yep, fantastic. Career high 35 goals too, we should point out, and still a highlight real machine when it comes to some of those goals. So had a great season, and I think it's as the contract ages, it gets a little bit easier to move him because there's less years left, of course, but the production eventually is going to start to decline. Hopefully not as soon as next season, but it's certainly the case that could happen given his age. Let me throw a couple at you. We'll stick with the forwards just to keep it consistent for now. Sharon Govich. Let's go to the other end of the.
Well, I mean, I think he's probably, if I said, what were your 3 disappointments this year, he'd probably be in the 3, just 17 goals, 15 assists. I think we probably pegged him as a 30 goal scorer for this team, and I would have been ecstatic with that. He was not the Sharon Govich that we expected up until probably sadly and scarily the last 6 games.
Yeah, he really fell off a cliff, and hopefully with those last few games where he's kind of started to find his game, that that's what we get next year. I think he's going to rebound, but now the question is he that 30 goal guy, or is he more like that 15 to 20 goal guy that Jersey generally had and the one that we had this past season? So I'm really curious to see how that all plays out.
We'll know next year at this time, because this season is going to be I don't want to say a do or die for his career, but quite possibly a do or die for his career.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's obviously got a long-term contract, but what he's going to be is the question, right? Especially with the other guys emerging, one of whom, let's switch to a positive here in terms of emergence, Matthew Coronado.
Hey, he did it all this year. 24 goals in 77 games, 47 points. I mean, this guy's going to be an elite scorer in this league. And I will admit, I was a slight, I can't say a heavy critic of him at the end of last season, but I did have my concerns about his skating. And I don't think there was an improvement on the team more visible than that this year. His skating was much improved versus last year. And the kid can shoot the hockey puck.
Yeah, well, my personal highlight from the games I attended this year was him scoring that overtime winner in Montreal. Like, just a beautiful, beautiful shot. And man, he had a pile of them. He is by far the purest sniper on the team, which previously I would have thought would be maybe Sharon Govich, but that's Coronado's title and his alone. So he's going to score 30 to 40 next year, barring injury, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
I'm with you, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for the future for this guy. Yeah. Michael Backlund.
That's a tough one. Possibly the toughest one to accurately try and grade. Very up and down kind of year. Overall, decent, but I would have expected more. But then after finding out how many injuries he was dealing with and the nagging type of injuries he was playing through, he was the Michael Backlund we've come to know and love, just, take it down a few notches by what he was dealing with. So I'm very curious to see how he does next year, especially at his age, his contract status, all those factors. But we'll see. What were your feelings on Bax?
I think he brought to the team what we needed him to bring to the team as far as leadership goes and things like that. His total numbers were off. His impact was off. But yeah, you summed it up perfectly. He was dealing with a lot of stuff, and I'm not making an excuse for him. But I guess pencil him as our third line center next year, and I have zero worries about that. I guess that's a positive.
Yeah, I'd like to see him transition to the fourth line role over time, because I think he'd excel at that. But I also don't want to take too much away from him, because he is, when healthy, as of now at least, still an ideal third line center. I'd like to see him, to be honest. He's not dynamic enough to continue with the power play experiment, even on the second unit. I'm kind of over that.
I would agree.
Given the lack of options in the past, I understand it. But I mean, as a penalty killer, key face-off guy, there's still lots to like about Back's game. I just think the offense, I think, is gone. If we get 30 to 40 points out of him next year, I'm happy.
How about Blake Coleman?
Well, I said all along, and I think anybody with a brain between the ears had said the same thing, he was never going to score 30 goals again. It just wasn't in the cards for him. But he was, again, exceptional at both ends of the ice. Like, he is such a valuable player to this team. He's another one we talked about as a very attractive trade candidate, and obviously that didn't happen. But that contract, by the time it's done or by the time he's traded, one of the best ones the Flames have ever signed, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah. I don't want to even trade him. I just think this is a guy that's perfect. No, he's perfect for a retool, right? Like, he's such a calming factor, I think. And I think he's much more of a leader than we probably see on the outside. I knew he wasn't going to score 30 again. And I never, at this point this season, was there any games you're just like, oh man, we need something from Coleman here? I mean, I know he had a little quiet stretch there in the latter part of the season, but I don't know. I rarely found myself disappointed in his play.
I don't know that I ever was really disappointed. I mean, I certainly wish he had maybe potted a few more goals, but for his sake,
he's the most unlucky player in the league. I'll tell you that.
Oh, most certainly. And I feel badly, because he was perhaps the loudest advocate to get Gaudreau to stay and back in 2022, because I think part of that is the fact that he could have been a part of a competitive team for years, and Coleman didn't sign here to not make the playoffs, right? He came here to help put the team over the top, and if he doesn't do it here, he's going to do it somewhere else because he's just that effective. And if you had your third and fourth line all players like Blake Coleman, you'd be a very, very dangerous playoff team. So he's great.
Okay, hit me with a couple more forwards.
I want to, because this one's curious to me because I really liked his game myself in the last little bit of the season. Adam Klapka, what are your thoughts on him?
Man, I think I said it on the show 2 times this year that I thought I just said Adam Klapka's not an NHL player. And I think I might be wrong.
Yep.
I think that having him up on the first line is straight bonkers.
Yeah.
And I think that having him anywhere other than the right wing on the fourth line is straight bonkers. But I think this guy has carved out a spot. And if I was putting our lines together right now for next year, he is my right wing on the fourth line, and he will be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I like him as a net front presence too on the power play. Like on the second unit, I really think there's a spot for him there. Like, and he has decent hands for a man that big, like surprisingly good hands. So it's hard because he didn't play a full season with the big club, but you could tell the last 10, 12 games, he's really starting to figure it out. So he could be a really important piece going forward. So moving on from him, if I was going to hit you with somebody else from the forward group, there's a few different ones to choose from here. What'd you think about Ryan Lomberg?
I knew you were going to say that. This is a tough one.
Yeah, apparently.
Because, like, he's our fourth line left winger, and I'm fine having him be our fourth line left winger next year. But I don't think he should play 82 games. And I surely don't think we should have given him $2 million. He brings zero to the table offensively, complete zero. He was much more of a presence physically early in the season than he was later in the season. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I beg anybody to give me a reason that I can't find a guy that'll do the same job for $1 million that doesn't have fancy hair.
Well, I don't know that.
Like
I don't know that there's players that could bring more enthusiasm to a game than Ryan Lomberg, and that's
I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
But some of that cheerleading can be done in the dressing room and not necessarily on the ice, right, or on the bench. So I understand because I had said at one point too, I don't see a need for this guy to play 82 games. Now, I would be happy with him, for in the playoffs playing every game because I think he would ramp his game up big time.
Yep, I agree.
But
proven that, right? He's proven that.
Yeah, there could have been some more additions in his place that would have better served the team's direction, I think. But I was happy they brought him in. I think he just won a cup with Florida. I think he's a very valuable piece in terms of his experience and his enthusiasm, his character. But again, on the ice, I don't see why this guy should be playing as often as he is.
Yeah.
Let's move on. You want to move on to D?
Quickly, I just want to touch on just 2 other guys real quick.
Yeah.
We can do them together. Frost and Farabee. They came over in a mid-season trade. I think both of them drastically underachieved while in Calgary.
Unquestionably.
It blew my mind to hear Farabee in his locker clean-out interview say that he was embarrassed of it. I predict that Farabee is going to have a really good year next year, but I still have my questions on Frost. I think Frost is going to be a decent player for us. I just don't ever think he's going to elevate to that. If we can get him to be a 30-goal scorer, that's great. I guess I just have a little bit more questions there, right?
Well, and that's one of the reasons I kind of gloss over them a bit. And, moving on to defensemen nearly, it's like, it's hard to get a gauge on a player acquired midseason. And those guys were acquired pretty much right at midseason. And neither one was. Farabee really disappeared. As I mentioned before, just that one highlight reel goal against Dallas. Frost had as many chances and created, I should say, as many chances as anybody in the team, but just didn't have the finish. I do think Frost is going to score 60 next year. And if Farabee can be a 2020 guy, I think that would be fantastic.
Yep. With you.
Yeah. Those are my hopes for those 2 players. Well, now they could both be like in the middling 40 points, both of them. Could be 30 something. Like it's so hard to get a read on them, but I think it's a big adjustment to go from obviously Philadelphia to Calgary, middle of the season, new system, blah, 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 all that stuff that gets talked about. But those are two guys that were acquired for very specific reasons. They very much fit the blueprint of what this Flames team's trying to do. They gave up, Kuzmenko bounces around. It is what it is, but, a very likable two-way forward in Jacob Pelche. So they obviously, because they believed in these two guys, and I still do too. It's really hard for me to grade them based on the circumstances, but I can't wait to talk about them next season.
I know, me too. I think I'm really interested. They're probably in my top 3 guys. I want to really see how next season pans out. One last forward. I just got to get your take on this because it is actually interesting. Martin Pospisil, and then we'll move on to defense.
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about him.
I know, that's why I could tell, like, this is a guy we had a lot of hopes for this year. And
I don't know how you play that off and only score 4 goals. And that was a lot of it was bad luck too, but I don't know. So it just felt like something was going on with him this season. He had a really good first full season in Calgary, and this one just left a lot to be desired. But I think he's another one that's going to be kind of a dark horse going to next season because I think he has a lot to prove.
His shot percentage, I've never seen one this low.
How much? What was it?
3.5.
Yeah, it's pretty damn low. Yeah, that says a lot.
I guess Jake Beans is 2.8. So okay, enough said.
Oh, different story.
Right. Let's go on to defense. Fire away. You pick the guy. I'll tell you my 2 cents.
Well, let's start with the most positive one of all, I think. Well, actually, that's a debate, and that's how I'm going to pitch this to you. Who? Again, that's too easy. What part of the defense made you the happiest if you had to boil down to an individual player? And I'm going to give you 2 options because I think there's really only 2. Is it Mackenzie Weegar or Kevin Ball?
Kevin Ball. I expected that from Weegar. Weegar did exactly what I anticipated. Weegar was awesome. 8 goals, 41 points, or 47 points, plus 18. Weegar was exactly what I wanted, what we
plus
paid
18.
for, and what I expected.
That's wild. So, and I actually, we should throw a third name in there too. So we kind of knew what we had from last season in Braden Pahal. He missed a few games down the stretch, was taken to the lineup, but is it fair to say Ball was the biggest surprise of them all in terms of how
Ball was the biggest surprise, and I'm super excited for him, and I hope we can, ink a deal with him and move forward with him because I like what he brings to the table. And we talked about this a couple episodes ago. We talk about plus minuses, and we mentioned Mackenzie Weegar at plus 18. Braden Pahal was plus 5.
That's impressive.
Kevin Ball minus 6, playing with Rasmus Anderson, who was minus 38.
That's so crazy.
So how does it even happen, right?
Honestly, and I don't know. I don't know. I really don't get it.
I don't get it either. Like Kevin Ball was I don't want to say let's put it this way. When we traded Jacob Markstrom and we got Kevin Ball, I had to pull up YouTube to watch some highlights because I was like, oh boy, I don't have a take on this guy. And I had zero expectations, right? And at the beginning of the year, I'm not gonna lie, and I think I said it on the show a few times, he frustrated the hell out of me. But as we move forward, I felt like his stick work was better. He made smarter decisions, and it just like the game came to him.
Yeah,
and I loved what he brought to the team. I love it.
Yep, I agree. Couldn't agree more. In fact, and that's kind of the interesting part. So Weegar, Ball, and Pahal. So it's like half of our D feels like it's figured out, right?
Yes. Yep.
We cut now. Without taking up too much time on some of these, because we covered Anderson extensively on our last show.
We will, yes.
And we'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about him all summer.
Yes.
As well as, we covered quite a bit on Jake Bean. I think we've both kind of agreed that Miramonov's time with the team is likely done.
Yep.
So who do you see? I guess the easy answer would be Parekh. But other than Parekh, do you see any other D either currently on the roster emerging to be a more viable option further up the lineup, or anybody else maybe with the Wranglers who you think is going to make the jump?
That's a tough question because I really don't know how. I mean, so much is going to be determined by the decisions we make with Anderson.
Yeah.
And on the coming shows, when we talk about laying out our thoughts for the future, a lot of discussion is going to come with Anderson.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really tough to speculate now, not knowing if he's going to have a slot on the roster next year or not have a slot. And I do believe Perek will be on the lineup. I believe we'll probably talk with Hanley about staying. I think he's a. And the thing I like about Hanley is he's my Michael Stone, man. I can have that guy in the press box eating popcorn for 7 games, and he comes back, and it doesn't even look like he missed a beat. This guy was an unsung hero for the team this year. I think he's a good guy to have around. He's a safe guy to have around.
Hey, he's not young though either by NHL standards.
But that's okay. He's perfect 7D man that can slide in any spot really.
If he's cast that way, which he certainly wasn't. He was playing top 4 minutes virtually all year.
Yeah, but we also agree that he was probably miscast this year.
No, he was. But my concern is if they, that's what they do in pro sports, right? What if what'd you do for me last year? Well, that's what we're going to pay you based on, or this is where you're going to slot into the lineup, unless you have a terrible training camp or a major injury. So the thing that worries me about Joel Hanley is both in terms of contract and in terms of usage is you have to trust the team to pay attention to the signs, to cast him properly. And I don't know if they're smart enough to do that, because one thing about Ryan Huska is he plays his favorites.
Oh yeah.
Even when they're getting their heads beat in. And I hope I'm wrong here, but we'll see how that plays out.
I agree. Let's quick touch on goalies, and then we got to move on. I got a couple questions I want to ask you about the team this year. Wolf, we don't have to talk long. We talked about it 100 times. I mean, you couldn't be happier, right?
I'm just unbelievable. I can remember very specifically his handful of poor outings on a team that was getting shelled that many nights, and for as many great games as he had. I mean, this guy's the real deal, and lock him up as soon as you can for whatever he wants. That's my take.
Dan Vladar.
Crappy start. I might have been a little hard on him in the beginning of the season, but he was dynamite in the second half. We agreed more recently that we'd both like to see him return, because not only is he the best option as a backup for this team, but he's the best option as a backup that could be a UFA on the free agent market, as far as I'm concerned.
How would you grade Ryan Huska?
That's a tricky one, because
I know.
the team overachieved, and they had a great culture, which has been covered ad nauseum. I would give him a B, because there's some major usage problems that get masked by a team that overachieved due to excellent goaltending, individual performances. I felt he adapted a little bit better down the stretch, but I mean, he's got a little ways to go for me to think he's going to be, around a whole lot longer.
Yeah, no, I'm with
you. What were your thoughts on him? Like,
same. I went into the season really open-minded with him. I had many nights of frustration because of usage of players and some decisions that he made and personnel decisions.
Yeah.
I questioned some things. I feel like he viewed some players differently than other players, which I think is impossible as a human being, but I think it also clouded some of the decisions that he made too. So, open book. I'm ready to see what he does with a little bit more talent and a little bit more time underneath his belt.
Yep, and I think so too. I very curious, and I'm also curious because anytime you have a positive coach like that, you got to wonder how long that message is going to be received, right?
Yeah.
I guess it goes the same for any coach, really. But I mean, when they're always, and I've seen them, act a little fiery at times, but like you don't want to become too comfortable, and that's kind of a concern sometimes too.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to touch quick on Worlds. Backlund is going, which shocks me at his age and his health that he's going, but it is in Sweden, so him and Anderson will be playing for Sweden. Now Huska is going to go as a part of the Canada's coaching staff. Yep. Coronado is out because of an MRI they had last week. They just want him to rest up and be healthy for next year. Wolf is out because some roster decisions. Team USA did not want to bother him during their run. And then
what's with that?
Well, here's the deal with that. I heard a little bit more information on that. They wanted him, but they didn't want to talk to him while they were in the middle of the run, because they thought they expected Calgary to probably get in. They asked Swayman, and was it Swayman and Allmark? I can't remember who it was. I think it was
for Team for Team USA.
Yeah, well, it can be
But
that.
it certainly wouldn't. Yeah, it would have been not well. Yeah, Swayman makes sense, but I'm not sure who else.
It was Swayman and another guy. Oh, no. Decord. Was Decord.
Oh, Joe Decord. Okay, yeah.
They asked those two guys, thinking that one of them would decline and Wolf would maybe fall into that spot. They both said yes, so the spot was taken. So I'm totally good with that. Totally good with that. I hate guys going to Worlds. Hate it.
Yeah, you talked about that before. It was funny. I kind of cried.
Most irrelevant tournament in the world. It is the most irrelevant tournament.
Okay, I'll take your Worlds and I'll raise you a Spengler Cup.
Oh, geez. Hansik's going for Slovakia. Did I see someone who else? Klapka's going with Czechia. That's it. That's all. All right. I got some questions I want to ask you before we go here. Quick answers. Just, I don't know, some just to put a wrap on the year. If I said I need one word to describe the 2025 Flame season.
Confusing.
Does this count as two words? I said roller coaster.
Just hyphenate it. You're fine.
All right. Thanks for the pass there. All right. Your favorite game of the season? Really putting you on the spot here because that's not an easy thing to just fire off. Oh, September 12th, preseason game when Hansik scored two.
December 14th, I think it was, Saturday night against Florida, because I was there, had great company. They beat the defending cup champs in a very convincing fashion. It was just, it was cool to see. You?
I think you're going to agree with me on this one too. January 30th, 4-1 win over Anaheim. Frost Fair betrayed night. It was so fun to watch that.
Oh yeah, that was
over X, and that was just a lot.
The funnest part was watching the Sportsnet guys kind of scramble, right? Yeah, that was super enjoyable.
It was fun. All right,
but from a hockey perspective though,
hockey perspective? You know what? The New Year's Eve game against Vancouver, I thought was awesome. We played great.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Biggest surprise of this season?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I'm not that surprised by Dustin Wolf. I've always believed in him. Probably Kevin Ball. He made that Markstrom trade not like, oh yeah, they did okay. It was like, oh shit, this is a slam dunk. Like he really, he was phenomenal. I almost said Coronado, but I always felt he was going to be, he would figure it out. But
I'm going with Emergence of Coronado.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and Emergence was a great word for that.
I had 4 on my list: Wolf's dominance, Huberdeau bounce back, the emergence of Coronado, and how serviceable Paul was. Those are mine. Biggest disappointment of the season?
The result. Because again, if you're getting dummied, you got to start dealing with the pain back in like January, right? But in this case, like I mentioned this to you the other day about a buddy of mine skating up to me at pickup hockey. He's like, I didn't realize the Flames had that many more points than like 3 teams that made the playoffs in the East. He's like, that's brutal. I'm like, yeah, dude, it sucks. Like, it sucks.
2 more quick ones. Defining moment of the season.
The loss to Anaheim. The loss to Anaheim late in the season, or those 2 games in St. Louis I've been bitching about for 6 months.
I put the 2 games in St. Louis. The only reason I did that is because the Anaheim game would have been irrelevant if we'd have won one of those 2.
Such a horrible way of looking at it.
Right?
Brutal. Okay.
Are the Flames a better team next season?
God, I sure hope so.
If I had to ask you though, honestly though, do you think?
Oh yeah. I think Wolf's going to be even better. The D is going to be better. Like, yeah, I think so. What do you think?
I think you're going to be about the same.
What? Oh,
well, it's such a hard question. That's not.
Oh, it's too early for your pessimism.
No, I'm not being. I think there's an opportunity for this to go really well or really bad. I think a decision needs to be made on Anderson this summer. I don't feel comfortable.
There's no question
into the season with him or without him. I need to know. I need to know the plan. Right? This is so critical to the plan for the future, and I think that once we can get that ironed out, I'll feel a little bit better and see how it slots in. But you know what? This year was a pleasant surprise. So I don't know why next year can't be a surprise too, right?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I often get where we're ahead of the curve. I don't want to get too excited like when we 14-15 and then face planted in 15-16. Like, you got to be careful for a little bit regression in some of these players, especially as some of your key guys age. So cautiously optimistic. Now, something else I'm optimistic about, because this is my hometown team, of course. The Moncton Wildcats swept the semifinals, now on to the Quebec League finals, where they will hopefully play Shawinigan. So we'll have Gridden versus Morin. So we'll see if that happens. Yeah, that could be really fun. Really, really fun.
I am probably more excited about him as a prospect than anybody.
Gridden?
Yes.
Oh, he's a great player, man. He's a great player. And actually, it's cool to see the Flames actually posted today about the Wildcats moving on, which is great to see.
I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Oh, you know who's going to be here? I guarantee it. Michael Stone.
I bet you he will be.
Yeah, I'm going to seek him out. Get that Stone jersey signed.
Give him a shirt.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Duh.
Get him on the show. Get him on the show.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
What do we got coming up? NFL, NHL draft lottery, May 5th. The draft, the 27th, 28th. Kyle and I are back next week with a special episode. We're going to discuss some obscure Flames players that we both love so much. So,
oh man, you just triggered something in my brain where all these names just started running through.
Oh, Kyle, I've been dying to do this episode. I've been dying to do it. So we are going to have a show every week this summer. We're going to have some little short 30-minute episodes here and there to fill the gaps, talking about all kinds of cool, fun Flame stuff. I don't know. And episode every week up until the 25-26 season drops. It's going to be fun. As we go today, a band out of Canada, Small Town Strip Club, good stuff. Enjoy listening to them every single week. Kyle, it was always fun talking Flames hockey with you, and good discussion today. Real good discussion about kind of putting a wrap on this season.
Time to start looking forward, right?
It is. It was a fun season. It was nerve-wracking all the way along, and I don't think either one of us thought that we would be up until we were, so we have to. Actually,
yeah, right down to the wire. Yeah, we're content.
Well, Flame Sense, have a good week, and we will be back next week.
So you want the best bang for your buck? Big brute bouncers don't blink twice before they're up you up. Rather cut a check that's fat than a check that's clean. Everyone's trying to make ends meet. Me and my wits end.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames Hockey Talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.